The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
I'm going to have a kid in like 8 years, and I'm probably going to name that kid JT or Jonathan Tanner. Is that his real name? It's going to happen. Why? Because that dude right now is the face of the Vancouver Canucks. And if things go right this year, like this year and we play in June and we win in June, bro, that's the face of the Vancouver Canucks of all time, right? Like the new Trevor Linden. JT Miller, man, he's on path to become one of the greatest Canucks ever, okay? Well, look at the numbers. He's kind of already there. Let's stay in the moment. Let's talk about last night and more JT Miller, some Nikita Zadorov, and Jake Guentzel. Jake Guentzel? Come on, man. Relax. Anyways, happy Sunday. Let's do this. Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay. It's time. Let's do this. Another conversation here on Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. That's KYLEBHAWAN. Again, this is Locked On Canucks. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Because this is what, right? What's the culture here at Locked On? It's your Canucks every day. No, it's your team every day. We say your Canucks every day. Because real talk, it's the only team that matters to you and you and you and you and to you and you. And it's especially the only team that matters here at the Don't Doze Art Labs. Yes, the Don't Doze Art Labs is the place where we've been doing what, man? Just applying that West Coast bias for years and years and years and years. And why do we do that? Because we understand that we got to take care of our neighbors before we take care of the world. Hey, speaking of our neighbors, the Canucks, man, doing the most for a guy named Brandon. Okay, look at this comment coming in on YouTube, okay? They gave us all a win in time for my birthday today. 29 years young. I was shaking watching that game down here in the Okanagan as well. I think Cethos, another fan of the show, he's eating waffles on this Sunday in the Okanagan, celebrating this win, probably watching the highlights for the fourth time, right, of that game from last night, because that was a lot of things. I'm not going to call it the ultimate resurrection, right? The Bruins got the Stanley Cup all that time ago. We can never really one-up them unless we face them in the finals again. But yesterday, it felt real, man. It felt powerful. It felt even more beautiful that we ended that losing streak in such an important season against that team who has that guy as their captain, right? There's always going to be that connection to 2011 because of the Bruins and, yeah, because of Brad Marchand, who was invisible last night. He really was. You know who wasn't? JT. More on that in, 2 minutes? The face of the franchise? Because, we got to start with the team, okay? Big dub. It's a team victory, and I just said Brad Marchand was what? Invisible. Pasternak, invisible. Why? Because the Canucks pretty much for the whole game, I would say 99.9% of it, played a perfect defensive game against a really good team who happens to be a little desperate too. The Boston Bruins, the second best team in the NHL according to the points, right? And they did that, gave them absolutely nothing for a very, very long time. That's team defense. That's structure. That's the system. That's the way the Canucks can do a lot of damage in the playoffs. And that's being bought into a complete team effort. Speaking of effort, that was the hardest that team has played in a long time. And I definitely think that that is the recipe for success for this team. We've talked about this all season long, right? 5-on-5, that top six, whatever combination that top six is in, right? Involving Besser, Miller, Pettersson, and now Lindholm. It's never consistently looked sexy, right? 5-on-5. It's never looked, I don't want to compare us to any other team, but it's never looked fluid, completely fun, high octane. It's never been that. When it's been successful, it's been based on a lot of effort, a lot of winning of those 50-50 battles along the boards, right? A lot of doing the most, a lot of playing successful playoff style like hockey in the offensive zone. It's not the sexiest, but when those guys are going and those guys are competing, dumping and chasing, getting first to the puck, and if they're second, they're still getting that puck. When they're playing like that, they're really effective. Maybe that's the style, right? That's the Canuck way of execution. Speaking of execution, man, I got to bring this up too to all the haters, man. To all the haters. What do we say to them? I know it's a family program, but you, okay, for real. I saw a stat, right? Talking about PDO. Here are the top 5 teams with that PDO percentage this season. I think the Bruins were second, right behind the Canucks. Or were they first? The slightest of margins separating those two teams. I think I also saw the Dallas Stars in the top 5 with PDO as well, okay? That's one of the terms / calculations that has been used many times when describing why the Canucks are going to regress. And to that I say what? You. It's the truth. You don't doubt a team that has been pretty consistent with elite players all season long, and a team who did that in the third period against Boston on a Saturday night when everyone was watching, after playing one of your worst games in Seattle and continuing your losing streak to 4 games, okay? This was the time for the Canucks to show something else, that maybe they weren't that team, right? Or that this losing streak was going to continue for some time. But what did they do? They willed that win. They did the most. Let's talk about it, okay? 2 periods. 2 periods were played before that. I would say probably the most impressive third period I've seen in a decade from the Vancouver Canucks. It felt like that. Decade plus. But yeah, those first 2 periods, the Canucks played really good defensively. I thought they had a lot of possession. But again, nothing was sexy. Swayman didn't have to do too much. The Canucks were possessing, but they weren't making it super difficult for anything Boston Bruins. And that kind of scared me. Why? Because some of that optimism / over-appreciation for the Vancouver Canucks that they rightfully deserved was starting to feel a little weird. Because, yeah, they were playing well, but they were still down by 2 goals. And I wondered if I could sum up any type of positive reaction just based on, good 5-on-5 play and puck possession. Who cares if they lost? They're making the right strides. It's all about the process, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make that excuse if we did lose to the Boston Bruins. I was kind of doubting the Vancouver Canucks. And I think Cito said it earlier, right? He'll admit it. I think that Cito's guy's an honest person. But before Brock's first goal, I thought it was for sure looking like a shutout. I was kind of feeling the same thing. But again, honest people here. And I have the text messages to prove it. I told the Canuck group chat. Yeah, we're doing well. But we're not playing sexy. I don't think well is good enough for a first place team anymore. You gotta get off this losing streak. And you gotta do it ASAP. Again, playing well, playing good is not good enough. Get the dubs. I told the group chat that, had my doubts, but also said clearly that if this team is going to win, it's only going to be because of JT Miller. And that's because through 2 periods, that dude gave a you-know-what more than any Canuck that I've seen in a long time. He did not want to lose to the Bruins. And more importantly, he did not want to lose again. JT Miller, as Tocchet said, willed this team to victory. He finishes with 3 assists, all in the third period and in overtime, and 8 hits. 8 hits. He had 8 hits going into the third period. Now, what does that tell you? Again, this guy was on one. He was on a mission. And with 0 hits in the third period, that doesn't indicate that he took a stride off the physicality, because he was engaged physically in other ways, winning his battles, winning faceoffs, doing his thing. He was just, again, always around the action. The Canucks were buzzing all third period, and JT Miller, again, a big part of that. I think everyone in that locker room going into the third period looked at what JT Miller was doing through 2 periods and felt away and felt something. Again, I know Quinn Hughes is the captain, but JT Miller is the face of the Vancouver Canucks. When he's playing like that, when one of the best players on your team, the point scoring leader on your team, the guy who's 5th in NHL scoring, is playing like that, 8 hits through 2 periods. And bro, those weren't light hits. That wasn't the Canuck stat sheet guy, being someone full of West Coast bias for JT Miller. He earned all those 8 hits, putting his body on the line, trying to get something going, trying to get the crowd in it, trying to get momentum for the Vancouver Canucks again, trying to will this team to a win. And he did just that. And it was mad impressive. And it was at a time where everyone was watching. And people, yes, people, a lot of people, because love us or hate us, when the Vancouver Canucks are good, a lot of people watch us. And when they start watching in the playoffs and the Canucks go on a long run, I have no doubt in my mind that JT Miller is not only going to be the face of the Vancouver Canucks, he's going to be one of the faces of the NHL. Just look at him. Look at him. Take a big look at him. He looks like a hockey player. He plays like a quote-unquote hockey player. And he also puts up a ton of points. What's he up to? 79 points in 60 games. Remember that contract, right? $8 million a season. We should pay this guy more. Again, $8 million a season. Can I say this? What if JT Miller finishes the season with like 10 more points than Pettersson? And trust me, I'm not going to get negative here. I'm going to turn this into a positive, okay? Because I know where your mind is going. But again, what if this guy finishes with 10 to 12 more points than Pettersson? And that's not to say Pettersson's going to struggle to finish off the season. I still think this guy's going to get to 100 points. I just think JT Miller has built a cushion, and, bro, he's on a mission. He could do it. What if he does that? Does Pettersson take less? Can he then bring in the JT Miller comparable? I'm not saying Pettersson makes only $8 million, because that's not going to happen, but does he take less? I think so. JT Miller, man, the face of the Vancouver Canucks, a big part of the culture. I think we also got a comment earlier talking about Tocchet being the face of the team. It comes from Mark, which I got to talk about. I don't know if I got to apologize, but I got to say I was way, 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 way wrong for even having any problem with Tocchet voicing his concern about the effort level to the media after Seattle's game, okay? Because that happened, right? You played the crack and you played like ass. It was so bad. It was pretty pathetic. And Tocchet probably told the locker room that he wasn't impressed, but he also told the media. And I was like, yo, do you have to do that? It's all good. Don't worry about us. You don't have to feed the fans with quotables or be transparent with the media. It's all good. It's all good. Lie to us, tell them the truth. Just get them going. But there he was again, being transparent, and it worked. What did Tocchet say after the game? He did nothing, pretty much, throughout this game. The guys on that bench were calm and ultimately got the job done. I also like JT Miller's comments after the game. I don't know if they are connected, but I think I'm paraphrasing. But he did say he was proud about the balls the room played with in that game. Wasn't it Tocchet a couple days ago demanding that his team played, quote unquote, and maybe I'm paraphrasing again, but more ballsy, a little bit of gamesmanship, and ultimately another display of brotherhood. And I don't know if, about you, but I saw a lot of that in the third period. These Canucks love being Canucks. They love each other. They're highly skilled. When they play with discipline, which they're kind of lacking with the whole penalty thing. But if they play with discipline and structure, there's a recipe here for something big to happen. And that recipe is also backed by a guy named Thatcher Demko. Maybe we'll talk more about him after the one and only break of the show. I need a little break here. We'll also talk about Zadorov and Jake Guentzel as well. But before we do that, let's go to the comments. Okay, look at Hung Nguyen. Okay, you got to pay your hardest working stars. This happens in the corporate world as well, bro. It's business, right? It's business, baby. And I love that, man. You got to pay your hardest working stars. Talking about paying your players, anything to do with the Vancouver Canucks, you're obviously kind of touching base on the whole Pettersson thing, right? And I had the blessing to do what? To watch the game with my dad and his friends last night. And it was funny. Those guys really love the Canucks. They've loved the Canucks for what? 40 years. They have a brotherhood that is to be jealous of. And there was a lot of conversation about the Canucks and Pettersson, man. A lot of uncles, man, concerned that Pettersson is going to walk away. Now, going back to Hung's comment about you got to pay your hardest working players. Maybe we're not seeing it now, or maybe he's just struggling. I think he's just more struggling, okay? It happens in life. I'm not going to doubt the fact that Pettersson's not working hard, because I do think that he can give you something similar to what JT Miller gives this Canuck. And that's because Pettersson, sometimes when he's on, right? And I can see this during the playoffs in buildings packed with people, right? That he will again consistently be a driving force. And, more notably on this whole working hard point, use his body. Pettersson's a physical guy too. He engages. I know he falls down a lot, but he engages. If there's a smart YouTuber out there who's making the best hits of the Canucks season so far, I guarantee 2 of the top 5 hits will come from Elias Pettersson. That guy tries hard. He puts it on the line. Right now, it's not beautiful. I still think he's effective. I know we can be a lot better, but I have no doubts that Pettersson's one of the hardest working players on the team. And the Canucks, again, when they pay him, he will give the fans and the team way more than what that contract is worth over time. Hands down. How about this, okay? This comes from A Major. If Pettersson takes less and stays, Canucks could be a very good team for a while. Yeah, that's starting to make a lot of sense. How about Citos? I think PD's nursing an injury. Bro, I know for sure that guy's a tough son of a gun. He's a stoic. He's a mother effer. He's a baller. He's not making excuses. I would not be surprised early on in the season when he wasn't the best 5-on-5. I think there was a connection to a potential injury, right? And those things do matter. They really do. You can't be as fluid when something is going on. And that may be the case. That being said, one note that I'm really analyzing this season, and I don't know if this is a fancy stat. I don't care. This is the eye test, okay? I'm looking at how this team reacts in third periods. And I know they just played a debacle one against Minnesota not too long ago, but that debacle in Minnesota, that chaotic game, that weird game in Minnesota in that third period also included a potential comeback for the Vancouver Canucks in that same third period where they let in so many goals, right? They made that game a 1-goal game after being down by 3, after it blowing up. All in all, I've been really noticing how this team plays in third periods. And Pettersson is a player who can be, quote unquote, not at his best through 2 periods, but brings something to the table in the third. And that's generating chances, playing better 5-on-5. I've noticed that game in and game out. And that's also a sign of him being that guy for your Canucks, okay? How about Callum Sandu? Go Canucks, go to the Cup. What a comeback win. House of positivity, bro. It's easy to be positive when the Canucks are winning, but also when they're just playing their game. Again, I would be a little pissed off, maybe really pissed off, because I'm petty, right? If the Canucks lost that game. But if I became rational, right? Rational Bowen during a walk, I would quickly realize that, at least they played well. Like if we got shut out by Swayman, which was a possibility because that guy was on, but we played that well in the third period, I would go on a walk and I would be rational and think of the fact that the Canucks played a clear-cut, perfect game. Think about how many hard saves Demko had to make, maybe 3 or 4, a couple 2-on-1s, but They played so good defensively. They dominated 5-on-5. They would have almost doubled this team in shots if they lost the games. It's all good. But they didn't, okay? Shout out to Brock Besser. Shout out to the Canucks, man. Shout out to you and you and you and you. Let's cut to break. Talk about Zadorov and that Guentzel rumor. Are you serious, man? That's not going to happen, is it? Is it? Anyways, one love to eBay Motors.
eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Woo! Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, baby. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. And eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guarantee Fit only available to U.S. customers.
Okay, we back on this conversation about your Vancouver Canucks. That is called what? Locked On Canucks, man. It's your Canucks every day, and it's a blessing, man, to again be a hockey fan, a real hockey fan again. Right? When your intuition, your instincts, your subconscious does most of the work, right? Now look at me hoping that the Canucks play in June, bro. 7 months ago, I'm just looking at the second round. I'm just looking at impressing Pettersson enough so that he signs a contract. And here I am now, not even recklessly hoping for June. I think I'm rationally thinking about June because it's more than possible. If the Canucks do what they did last night, again, play that style of hockey, be really hard to play against, win your battles, engage, such a playoff brand of hockey with that star player, that star group of players, bruh. With Demko, bruh. With some of that depth, a lot of that depth, with Carson Soucy coming back, bruh. The Canucks could do it. Look at this comment, though. Okay? Again, I was just looking at this season being not a cup or bust season, but a sign Pettersson or bust season, okay? And they would have to impress him. Anyway, Shia, look at this comment, okay? I do not think EP40 walks. I think he's made a choice to wait till the end of the season. I think he's going to assess the team after the season and determine how much he will leave on the table. Bro, I think you're right. I think you're right, man. I think you're right. I think I had this conversation with my uncle, too, because he was really concerned about Pettersson potentially leaving. And he made the point that the team's doing well and supposedly they've offered him a bunch of money, blah, 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 right? I don't know if Pettersson really cares about the money like that. Based on what I've seen from him over the start of his career, he just seems like, again, one of those guys, man, a relentless guy, a guy who's on the pursuit of larger things, way larger things than money. Money? Bro, this guy wants to compete. He wants to win. He wants a legacy. That legacy is way more real, emphasis on real, with championships. All right, the Canucks, yeah, they're playing well this season, but we're talking about the Vancouver Canucks. Look at the history, the recent history. Look at the history with Pettersson on the team. They've sucked. And yeah, you could quote unquote put that on the players, but it's pretty obvious that a lot of it was on the old regime, just being completely unprofessional. Again, it's been only 1 year. 1 year. And we're not even done the year of success. Now, I wouldn't blame him for wanting to see more before doing any sort of signing long-term with the Vancouver Canucks. He's a gamer, man. Can we do this? Think about this. Because we haven't seen it that much this season, especially 5-on-5. Imagine more and more games, especially in the playoffs this season, where Miller is playing the way he played yesterday. And as he's been playing recently, for real. He's been our best player for about two to 3 weeks, which is not a surprise because he's JT Miller. Okay, imagine he's playing like this, and game in and game out, Pettersson's also doing the same thing, which is also possible, really possible. That's not a stretch. That's not me being delusional. Think about that. This team could be dominant. Really scary. Which is obvious because I've been saying it for a while, yo. I'm not being an idiot when I say it's cup or bust. I'm really just saying that because this team has what? They traded about 15 draft picks in a year. And B, more importantly, they're really good. They're stacked. Lean into this. JT Miller, really good right now. I think he's going to be really good for a long time. But what if this is the best version of him? Look at the way he's playing. Look at his points total. So again, spend a lot of time thinking about that. If Pettersson and Miller can play at that elite peak level consistently, go Canucks, go. I see the comments pouring in. We'll get to them in a couple of minutes. Let me run through some quick thoughts, okay? Nikita Zadorov. Remember Trevor Beggs? Remember that guy? Remember the Canucks beating Detroit in the very next day? What did Trevor want to do? He wanted to make an episode talking about the Canucks needing to make a lot more trades. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the energy I got from this guy. He still wanted a lot of change. He brought up the names of Mikheyev and also Zadorov, a guy that the Canucks traded for months ago. Come on. Trevor's reaching. Trevor's mind's going into a million places. And what happened after Trevor put that energy out there? The Canucks lost game after game after game after game. And I remember during that conversation, a week and change ago, I defended Zadorov. I think we need Nikita Zadorov. And I was about to say a lot of them, but can I say a lot and a little of them? Because think about this, okay? The playoffs are going to come. I could really see Philip Baronek, Quinn Hughes, and then a lot of Ian Cole and Carson Soucy minutes. I know they don't play together, but I think there's going to be a lot of Adam Foote knowing what to do, pressing different buttons, and, also more notably, just playing Quinn Hughes a lot, which means that there's going to be less minutes for other defensemen. And I think that's going to be the case for Nikita Zadorov, which I kind of like, because I think less is more with that guy. And when he's on one like he was yesterday, I feel as if him being a part of the equation on the D-core gives us not just a little bit more reliability, but just a sprinkle of a bit of X factor, okay? And you need a little bit of that X factor during a long playoff run. And whether it be a big hit from Zadorov or just one of those rushes, you start asking yourself that there's not a lot of guys like that, okay? And his toughness, man, it matters. It matters. Keeps the boys together. He's not soft. And Trevor, again, mentioning his name in potential trades. Dude, there's no way Rick Tocchet, who somebody just called the face of the Vancouver Canucks, is getting rid of Nikita Zadorov. No way. What a game. Big reason why we won last night. We spent so much time talking about JT Miller, and we're lucky we have Thatcher Demko too, because it was 2-0 and he made a couple big saves. That's why you have a guy like that, right? That's why the Canucks are dangerous. He keeps you in games. Dude, Nikita Zadorov, not only did he skate well, he played physical, was hard on players. He drew a penalty. Bro, he made a beautiful play to Brock Besser. A play that Miller wrote up. But nonetheless, Zadorov made a clean play to Besser on that goal off the draw. What a game. I think Tocchet obviously saw that, but also, and I've noticed this so many times with them, rewarded Zadorov with more minutes, a lot more minutes. There he was playing a lot in the last 5 minutes of yesterday's game. That's got to do something for the room, man. Every one of those players has to believe that they're important to the puzzle. Yeah, you want Zadorov feeling that and playing like that. And again, playing like that because he's not playing so much. He's kind of like Tyler Myers, but not like Tyler Myers. But they're both in the realm of, again, guys, you just want being your number 5, 6 guys. Because if you, you know what, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to poo-poo on Nikita Zadorov. Let's not do that, okay? It's Sunday. What else before we get to the comments? Oh, yeah. Jake Guentzel. Elliot Friedman saying the Canucks are still interested in Jake Guentzel. I can't see it. I can't see it. What would they give up? Didn't they give up the biggest pool of assets that they were willing to give up this season for Lindholm already, right? Or is this Alvin and Rutherford having to stay in the mix because Vegas may get him? The Oilers may get him? You also got to think about this too, right? Well, we've talked about him a lot on today's show, right? Pettersson, they don't really have Pettersson signed. So are they still in the mix for the best of the best? Because this is the season you got to go all in. Based on circumstance, based on how their stars are playing, based on how JT Miller's playing at his age. Do you really have to go all in here? Is this the year? Pettersson may not be coming back, right? Who knows? But I just don't see it happening. And I think, and call me stupid if you want down the road. I'm down to be proven wrong because I just want a cup. I feel like the Canucks could do it without him. Am I saying that only because I respect these players right now, man? I respect that room. And they've made a lot of changes already. I feel like there's a recipe there. Without us not willing, having to even give up more of the future, okay? Look, I want to win the cup this season. I also want to win the cup next season and the season after that. And I think because I honestly think that the team, this crop of players can do it this season, I'm not looking for more. That's it, okay? Well, let's get to the comments. Man, oh man. Richard says that Zadorov knows his ability and plays within them. I do see that. He knows his ability. I think it's cost him in the past, okay? It cost him with Calgary. It cost him with Colorado. It cost him with Chicago. It cost the Canucks when they played Philadelphia in Vancouver, right? In late December. Was it Philadelphia? Yeah, it was. Because Zadorov trying to do too much and makes a blunder. He's one of those guys. Again, less is more. And Richard just follows it up with Myers tries too hard sometimes as well. Look, they're kind of the same. Hence why less is more. Man, oh man. Hung asking for my take on Ilya Mikheyev. I think he's a pro's pro, man. I think the Canucks still need him. Because I don't know if they can get rid of him. I don't know how appealing a guy like that is to any team in the NHL based on his salary cap and how he's been playing over the last 30 games. And you got to throw in the fact that he's had a lot of knee work done, okay? A lot of surgeries. I don't know how much value this guy has. And is it worth just keeping a guy like that in the lineup because he's a pro's pro? I think he's been a bit of a liability. And I think this has more to do with his confidence defensively over the last handful of games, right? There's been moments where he's just not doing it. Costing the Canucks, but I don't think that's going to last a long time. I think he's a pro's pro. I think he's intelligent. I think with some confidence, you still have an effective player there. And the team, this team who's gunning for the cup, bro, you need guys like that. And again, I don't think the value is nowhere close coming back from Mikheyev based on, again, the best of the best that I think we could still get from Ilya Mikheyev in a season that matters. How about this comment? Lefty, man. Lefty. JT Miller is my favorite Canuck of all time. Definitely the heart and soul of the Vancouver Canucks. Bro, JT Miller's doing it. I think about this, right? I'm 30 and a half years old. I've been here. And this guy's telling me that JT Miller is his favorite Canuck of all time. I wonder if that's the case for a lot of, I don't know how young Lefty is, but I wonder if that's the case for a lot of like 15 to 25-year-olds, watching this version of the Vancouver Canucks. Because I think that it's quite easy to say that JT Miller is, again, en route to become one of the best Canucks of all time. He's polarizing. He's exciting. He's different. He's unique. And he puts up the points. He's been doing that. And if we're assuming the best of the best with this core, right? You throw in a cup, you throw in a long playoff run, you throw in even more points. Yo, this guy's going to be the favorite for a lot of people of all time, right? In 2074, when some fans are laying in their deathbed. I know I'm going there. It's dark. Who knows what the future brings, right? Maybe we'll live till 200. But when you're reminiscing about your life and someone asks you, like, yo, who's your favorite Canuck of all time? I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people in that year said JT Miller. He gives you that Ryan Kessler / Trevor Linden, but with the cup. A Stanley Cup, a championship type of vibe. Imagine that's the equation, okay? For real. Richard chiming in, okay? He lifted the team with its fight and its spirit. And look at this, okay? We were too nice to Bo, man. Okay, come on, man. Richard, man, boom, 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 bringing up Bo Horvat's name. Look, man, JT Miller's way better than Bo Horvat. Way better than Bo Horvat. Always been. Brings way more to the table, okay? I think we had Mr. Whale talking about somewhere in the comments. He brought up R.C. Baines, okay? A bad holding on the stick penalty, right? Didn't have to do that. Wasn't as noticeable as he was in other games, but there he was, still playing pretty late in the third period, which is an indication that Tocchet really trusts him and doesn't view him as a liability. Now, I wouldn't be surprised, right? Like, I don't know the injury status. I don't know the timetable. I don't know all that stuff, okay? But let's say Joshua returns within the next 2 games, right? I wouldn't be surprised if Archeep gets sent down based on A, him not being waiver eligible, and B, just, again, you're going to play games. You're going to play with guys like Lindholm and Miller. You got to be on for some goals for, right? And Garland, you know what I'm saying? And until that happens, I don't think there's a lock for his roster spot. But all in all, again, I think Tocchet does trust him. And a team that has a lot of UFAs this season, right? Especially with their depth positions, it's looking more and more like, whether it be this year or next, like R.C. Baines is going to be a full-time NHLer. Callum, we got 6 NHL setters, right? What is he talking about? Is he talking about Miller, Pettersson, Lindholm, Bluger, Suter, Amon? Am I saying that right? How did you guys like the line combinations yesterday? I thought the team played a lot more aggressive, a lot more sexy when Tocchet was shuffling the lines in the third period, because I don't think he really nailed the chemistry with the first batch of lines through those first 40 minutes. Again, a lot of possession, but nothing happening, nothing exciting. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same group of players going into Rogers Arena against the Penguins on Tuesday, but I wouldn't, again, be surprised if the line combinations are a lot different. Look at JS, man. Go Canucks, go. They really need Pods and Baines next season, which is the truth. They could still use Baines this season too, right? Tocchet alluded to depth and needing your fourth line to be something. Right now, it's lacking identity. Right now, R.C. Baines, not a liability. He could still be here, man. And Mr. Whale, Mikheyev can't score to save his life, but he made an impact. Again, a pro's pro. He was on the ice for the Besser goal, right? He had some chances to tie it up as well. Or was it to make it 2-1 in front of the net? with Höglander and Pettersson, I believe, right? It'll happen for him, man. I'm confident. I mean, the more and more Tocchet talks about needing your top guys on your fourth line, whatever that means, to, put it together and create an identity for the team going into the playoffs. So imagine Mikheyev is a guy who's confident and a guy who also is getting 11 to 13 to 14 minutes on the fourth line on the penalty kill. Think about that. Go Canucks, go. Anyways, man, we've talked a lot, man. We've talked a lot. One love to the Locked On Podcast Network. They doing the most, instilling that your team every day culture. We like to call it your Canucks every day. To our audio listeners, I don't think this is going to be able to go up until tomorrow because we're switching over distributors. Okay, so I apologize for that. That all being said, one love to the YouTube audience. Always, just doing the most. I do got a gift for you guys. Okay, I'll mention it now, but it's going to all start tomorrow. We are running a contest. We're giving away some Canucks tickets at the end of the month. It's the least, right? It's the least, man. One love to you and you and you and you and you and you. Go Canucks, go. We doing it. We're resilient. That was just a beautiful moment to be a hockey fan. I think I'm going to always remember that game. For real. Subscribe, hit the like button. Again, one love to you. Have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good night. We don't know when you're listening to this at the Don't Doze Art Labs, but hey, I know we appreciate it because we appreciate that West Coast bias. Peace.